Alex Krdecha just put out a video where he is discussing his potential strategy to climb the super heavyweight ranks and ultimately challenge Levon. So make sure to go check that out if you have not already. But in this video, there is a specific clip that I found very interesting. It is Devon explaining exactly how to prevent a hook puller from forcing you into a hook. Let's take a listen to what Devon said.
So if you give me your pronation, I get what right away?
You have your cup.
Cup, right? This gets bent, right? As soon as I sense the person moving that way, I will go the opposite direction. You never take what's being given. Just defensive, right? Okay, so I could go like this with you.
Yeah.
Okay, but instead, if you go again, if I go, right.
Oftentimes, hook pullers are unable to force their opponent into a hook by simply bending their wrist. If they are able to just wrist curl their opponent, it means they are way stronger than their opponent is. So what they do to overcome the gap in power between their wrist and their opponent's top roll is they take their wrist somewhat out of the equation, and they do this via supination. If your wrist is straight and you try to go sideways, your wrist flexion will be hugely challenged, but if you first supinate, now your wrist flexion will not be challenged nearly as much when going sideways. And as Devon said, most arm wrestlers will simply take what is given to them. In arm wrestling, we tend to be so accustomed to wanting our wrist to be bent that if someone supinates, we just take the cupping that was given to us without even thinking about it. But this is a trap. It is way easier to set a hook on someone with supination than it is with a straight wrist. So what is the solution to this as a top roller? Easy. Simply kick your wrist back and do not take the cupping that is being gifted to you. This will keep your opponent's wrist straight instead of supinated, which means as they try to drive sideways and down to chop onto your bicep, their wrist is going to crack back. They can't chop down on your bicep unless they first gain supination, and if you don't allow this to happen, they will be forced to try to hook you with straight up wrist flexion, and they won't be able to incorporate near as much structure into the match. Now, it does need to be mentioned that this move is somewhat risky. By kicking your wrist back, you are making it way harder for your opponent to hook you. However, you are leaving yourself more vulnerable to a posting top roll. Your opponent could set up with his knuckles high, leaning forward, acting like he's about to shoot forward, and then at the last minute, do a total reversal and top roll you straight to the pad. So if you're intentionally kicking your wrist back, you need to also have the ability to fight a top roll with your wrist back, just like Devon Larratt or John Brzenk can. Hopefully this video is helpful for those of us who struggle against hook pullers. Kicking back on purpose is not something that is a quick fix, as it definitely will feel extremely awkward at first and probably won't help much of anything. But if you dial in this technique over tons and tons of repetition, it is a very useful tool to have in your bag.